Hey everyone, it's Tracy Joseph. I'm a keto lifestyle coach, and I wanted to just talk a little bit about how you know or how will you know if keto is working for you. And I have 4 tips and a bonus tip to talk about exactly that. How will you know if keto is working for you? So the first tip that I have um, is the question that I always ask my clients and others that are we talk about it is how do you feel? Are you feeling more energetic? Are you getting better sleep? And is your mood improving? And it's amazing to my clients, to myself, even when I started on that aspect. That was the most immediate noticeable thing is that my energy level would just went right through the roof. I was sleeping better. I got up out of bed better. I'm not a morning person, so for me that was a big deal. And our moods can improve. I have clients whose anxiety has reduced. I have other people who tell me that their moods have evened out. They don't feel like they're in this um, constant roller coaster. I know that for me, my hangry went away. I would get very emotional when I was hungry, which was a total issue with my blood sugar for sure. So, how are you feeling? That's number one. Two, how are your clothes fitting? Are you finding that things are getting a little bit loose, or are they fitting a little bit different than what they used to? That is a big indicator that it's working because keto works differently than a lot of other eating plans. And so if you aren't seeing a lot of movement on the scale, you will notice that your clothes are fitting differently. Um, One thing I always tell my clients is measure yourself at the very beginning, and no matter how painful it is, do it because you're going to be so surprised at the inches and that you find are missing at when you hit as you move through your journey because you're going to be stunned at the difference there. So that's number two. How are your clothes fitting? How is everything just generally fitting on you? Number three is how is your hunger? Um, keto is all about burning your fat reserves, and so by doing that, your hunger levels should decrease. So if your hunger is reducing, then you're definitely your body is working off of your fat stores, and which is exactly what you want in order to lose the weight or lose the inches. So if your hunger is not reducing, then there might be some tweaks that you might need to take. But that's definitely a big sign, and that's another one that people start to see pretty close in the beginning stages of jumping into keto. Number four is you can test for ketosis, which is the state that your body is in when it's burning fat. You don't necessarily have to be in ketosis and you don't necessarily have to test, but it is something that some people like to do to just check to see if what they're eating is keeping them in line with the ketosis. The most reliable is going to be a blood test. They have little blood test monitors. You can do a breath test, a breathalyzer essentially. There are sticks that you can pee on. They're not as reliable, but some people use them and helps them kind of monitor what's going on. So those are the 4 tips: is how do you feel, how are your clothes fitting, how is your hunger level, and you can test for those things. Now, my fifth bonus point, you notice I didn't say anything about the scale or how much you weigh, because you know what? The scale is not your BFF. Scales lie. Scales are not to be trusted. They define us in a way. I feel obviously very strong about this. They define us in a way. They reduce us to a number, and I don't think that is at all helpful to us. If you can get on the scale and look at it and just see a number and not feel like it is part of who you are as a person and it doesn't define you, then fine, use it as a way to gauge your progress. But the other part of keto is that our weight doesn't necessarily fall in predictable patterns. That's why you look to other indicators. You look at um, what's falling. Hi, Grady. That's my sibling. Um, anyway, you look at the scale. It's not really a good indicator, but you can use it as a way to see how you're doing. But I don't recommend using it often or using it really ever, because if your goal is to feel better, to get more energy, to just generally be in better health, then the scale doesn't really matter. And you'll find that the weight decreases anyway. And it's not in a pattern that makes sense sometimes, and so it can be really frustrating. But you're having other benefits, so don't focus on that scale, because the scale is just not something that we need to be using to give us that internal validation. Let's validate through our better eating practices, validate through um, feeling better, period. And that will give us a lot better of a more successful for sure, and you'll feel great, and it just is going to be way better than worrying about a number on a scale that you um, just generally don't need to worry about. If you want to have more support, we share in my Facebook group, we share support, we share successes, we share really good food. Um, I have a Facebook group called Keto Plus Mindset, and you can just search for that in the Facebook bar, and you'll find us there. And we'll be happy to have you, and we will see you later. Bye.